I want to talk about our final project, which is our architectonic lamp project. And it's called the architectonic lamp because the object will have an architectural flair or have the feeling of a building or some other type of architectural structure. It'll also share some characteristics with some traditional Japanese or Korean lamp types also, but it's loosely called an architectonic lamp. And in this project, you're going to be creating a radial grillage composition, or also known as a radial waffle structure. And this is a classic architectural approach in digital fabrication. You may even find that there may exist out there in some places scripts to accomplish a lot of this, and I'm going to make one available to you to use here. But in any case, it's important that you understand this workflow intimately. So if you choose to build these types of objects, which are very common and often used as substructures for larger sculptural objects, you'll know exactly how to not only build them, but also how to troubleshoot them. So basically, we're going to start with a massing shape, okay? And note that your massing shape is a solid. So in this project, we're going to go from solid to plane to curve. And the curves are what we're going to use to cut out on the laser cutter. But we're going to use the solid to define planes, the planes to define curves, and the curves we're going to lay out of vertically and radially to describe our composition. But you start out with a solid, and note that your solid should have a hole that goes through that solid, and you want to be able to fit your hand through that hole. So take a measurement on your hand and use that. I like to use about 6 inches. I got big hands to make sure that I can get my hand through my design. Also note that on the bottom, and you're going to use that, and what you're going to do is that you're going to radial slice this. You're going to slice it radially, which means the center rotation will be in the center of your circle, and you're going to define cutting planes, section cutting planes radially, and you're going to define planes vertically to slice your object so that you come out with a design that looks similar to this. And what you'll be able to do is that once you've sort of sliced this radially, you'll be able to, with your vertical and radial slices, you'll be able to extract curves from these and unwrap these and lay these down for formatting for laser cutting. So that in the end, you're going to produce 3 illustrations in total. One illustration, ghosted painted black, should show the massing shape that your object was derived from. The massing shape that your object was derived from. And also I'd like to see your cutting planes in some way, just your cutting planes. The next one has a rendered view. Any way you choose to do it, viewport render, Rhino renderer, keyshot, you can use any of them, but I wanted to have a really strong artistic approach. Should have the cut sheet for your model. The cut sheet for your model, laying out the cut slotted parts for your model. And the other one should contain the orthographic drawings with scaling for your model, so that you have within this a complete package for manufacturing this lamp that you design. And the design should have some styling cues, should be rooted in something that's expressed that adds to its visual expression. Here's another example of a lamp, okay? And in this case, this is the massing shape. Now this is the pipes version of this, and this is outlined on the e-learning site. You're going to have 2 choices. You're going to either be able to go with like the pipes, or you're going to be able to go with the cut my rib scripts. Each has its own advantages or disadvantages, but you'll have to choose which way you want to go. I prefer personally to use the pipes, and I like to use the massive unroll to unroll my parts, but I do like to use the pipes. That's my preferred method. But here you can see the massing shape that this is derived from. You notice that it has an internal aspect and an external aspect. In this case, the student decided to emphasize the internal aspect of it and keep the external aspect of it clean and simple. And from there, we can see the development of that design. And here we can see the actual renderings of it. And here is the rendering, and you notice that L'Essential is the name of the lamp, but notice the layout of the parts in one of the illustrations, and also the isometric views of the parts in the other. I would like to see the measurements here, but I think that's okay. And here we can see the actual lamp as it was created. This is a wonderful project that if you design it properly, or when it's designed, when you get back on campus, or if you can find a service bureau, this is an object that you can actually have manufactured and will be of some use. And I think it's a wonderful way to end off the semester. But note that in this project, the most important part is the massing shape, and it doesn't have to be complex. Actually, it can be very simple. I've seen some of the most wonderful designs created with this project from a rectilinear shape that has a slice cut out of it. So it'll create really interesting. So it creates a really interesting grillage pattern, radial grillage patterns. But you're going to go from there. You're going to create your planes. You're going to section it off. You're going to use your pipes at your intersection points, and that's going to cut into the shape. All of those things are outlined in the project directory. I would this week go over that information in the project directory, and I would focus on developing some massing shapes that are really simple and just working through the process before you really commit to a final design. And as always, the most important part of the whole thing is to have fun and to enjoy this during these times.